Welcome back, everyone. Ready for another deep dive?
Always.
Great. Well, today we're tackling the 2025 Nissan Armada. Seeing if it really lives up to all the hype.
It's definitely been making some waves.
It has. We've got a whole pile of first drive reviews, spec sheets.
Even saw a press release about the sound system, of all things.
Seriously. So get ready for some surprises because this Nissan is shaking things up.
I think what's most interesting about this Armada is that it's basically a rebadged Nissan Patrol.
Oh, really? The one sold internationally?
That's the one.
Yeah.
Famous for its ruggedness and off-road chops.
So we're talking like Land Cruiser levels of tough.
Yeah, exactly. And this new Armada inherits that DNA. It's got a redesigned frame, way stiffer than the previous generation. It's built to handle some serious abuse. Those global markets demand it, so you can bet it'll handle anything you throw at it here.
Makes you wonder why they didn't do this sooner.
Right. And speaking of changes, they ditched the old V8.
No more V8. What, did they go for like a hybrid or something?
Nope. Twin turbo V6.
A turbo V6.
Interesting.
But get this. It's related to the engine in the Nissan GTR.
Wait, the engine from a sports car is in my family SUV.
Pretty much.
I gotta admit, I kind of love that.
Right. And it's not just for show. This V6 cranks out 425 horsepower and 516 pound-feet of torque.
Wow, that's not messing around.
Nope. More power and more torque than the old V8.
And it still runs on regular gas.
Yep. So more efficient A&D, more powerful.
Win-win. Okay, but I've also seen reviewers raving about how luxurious this new Armada is, especially that Platinum Reserve trim.
Oh, yeah, the interior seriously stepped up.
Like, how luxurious are we talking?
Think massaging seats, quilted leather.
Fancy.
And it's got not one, but two 14.3-inch screens.
Oh, 2 screens?
Yep, like a mini movie theater in there.
Wow. But doesn't that kind of step on the Infiniti QX80's toes? Its luxury cousin.
True, but here's the thing. The Armada undercuts the QX80 by a significant amount, so you're getting a lot of that luxury without the luxury price tag.
Yeah.
I'm always down for a good deal. Any downsides reviewers mentioned? It's always a catch, right?
Well, one thing that popped up a lot was the amount of piano black trim. That glossy stuff.
Ah, I see where this is going.
Scratches and fingerprints galore.
Yeah, that's definitely a trade-off. Looks great at first, but...
Not so much with kids.
Speaking of interesting stuff, what about this new Pro 4X trim I keep hearing about? The one made for off-roading.
Now, this is where it gets really exciting.
All right, lay it on me. What makes this Pro 4X so special?
Well, for starters, it gets an electronic locking rear differential, upgraded suspension, all-terrain tires.
Okay, sounds serious.
Plus, they improve the approach and departure angles, so you can tackle tougher terrain without scraping.
Smart.
And, get this, it's got Nissan's invisible hood camera system.
Invisible hood? What is that?
Basically, it lets you see through the hood while you're off-roading.
Wait, what? How does that even work?
It uses cameras and some clever software trickery to give you a virtual view of what's under the front of the car.
That is wild. So you can spot obstacles before you run them over.
Exactly. It's a game changer, especially for those tricky off-road situations.
All right, color me impressed. So we've got luxury. We've got off-road capability. What else is there?
Oh, there's plenty more. Reviewers were really impressed with the overall improved ride quality. That new suspension really works its magic.
Makes sense. What about tech? Any cool features in there?
Tons. You've got your choice of a 12.3-inch or 14.3-inch touchscreen, depending on the trim level.
Not bad.
Wireless Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, of course. Google built-in, even a new intelligent dash cam.
They really threw the whole kitchen sink in there, huh?
Pretty much. Oh, and remember that press release about the sound system?
Yeah, the one we laughed about earlier.
It's a Klipsch premium audio system.
Klipsch, like the speaker company.
The very same, known for their high-end home audio stuff.
So we're talking concert quality sound in my SUV.
Exactly. 12 strategically placed speakers, including a subwoofer and titanium tweeters. They didn't mess around.
All right. I am officially intrigued. But before we get too carried away, let's talk about the competition.
Right. We can't forget about that.
I mean, how does this new Armada stack up against the new Ford Expedition? Especially with its new Tremor off-road trim.
It's a natural comparison for sure.
Yeah, they're both aiming for that same buyer, right?
Yeah.
Families, adventurers, people who need space and capability.
Exactly. But there's a little catch with the Expedition.
Oh, what's that?
It's not actually out yet.
Still under wraps.
So we're limited to what Ford has released specs and stuff. No real-world reviews to go on just yet.
Fair enough. So, based on what we do know, any key differences jump out?
Well, one big one is size. The Armada only comes in one size, whereas the Expedition has that long wheelbase max version, for maximum cargo and people hauling.
That's a good point. If you need that extra space, the Armada might not cut it.
Exactly. Something to keep in mind. But it'll be interesting to see how they truly stack up once the Expedition hits the market. Head to head,
Definitely. That'll be a showdown worth watching. All right, so we've got a tough, luxurious SUV with a potent engine, all wrapped in a stylish new package.
And a killer sound system.
Right. What's the overall consensus from those who've actually driven it? Good, bad, or just meh?
Seems like reviewers are pretty impressed. They're calling out the refined ride, the streety feel, especially compared to the older Armadas.
Sounds like they really stepped it up.
They also like the spacious interior, all the tech crammed in there.
Makes sense.
And of course, that Platinum Reserve trim is getting a lot of love.
Naturally. What about that klipsch system? Did it live up to the hype?
Yeah, the feedback's been overwhelmingly positive. Reviewers are saying the sound quality is incredible, truly immersive.
So you can blast your tunes off-road in comfort and style.
Exactly.
All right, so we got a pretty clear picture of what this new Armada brings to the table.
We do. But to really see where it fits in, we need to dig deeper into how it stacks up against its rivals.
And that's exactly what we're going to do next. Stick around as we continue our deep dive into the 2025 Nissan Armada. Okay, so let's dive back into this Armada versus Expedition battle.
Sounds good.
You mentioned the Expedition has that longer max version, right?
Yeah.
More space for cargo and passengers.
Right, exactly.
Which the Armada doesn't.
Nope, just the one size.
So families needing to haul a lot of stuff? Or maybe they've got a whole team of kids.
The Expedition Max is probably the way to go, yeah.
No question.
Yeah.
But what about going off-road? Both of these SUVs have trims specifically for that, right?
Yeah, you've got the Armada Pro 4X and the Expedition Timberline.
Both packing some serious off-road goodies.
That's for sure. Upgraded suspensions, all-terrain tires, skid plates. They're ready for adventure.
But how does the Armada Pro 4X actually perform off-road? What are reviewers saying?
Well, some reviewers got to take it on a pretty challenging course.
Oh, cool.
And they came away impressed, especially with that invisible hood camera system.
I still can't get over that. Seeing right through the hood, I mean, come on. That's got to be amazing for off-roading.
Totally changes the game. Helps you spot obstacles, avoid damage, makes navigating tricky terrain a lot less stressful,
Yeah, but let's be real. Most people aren't going to be rock crawling every weekend.
Right.
So how do these SUVs compare for everyday driving? Comfort, ride quality, all that good stuff.
Well, both the Armada and the Expedition have a reputation for being pretty comfortable, quiet cabins.
Yeah, that's kind of their thing, right? Big, comfy cruisers.
Exactly.
But did reviewers notice any difference?
Yeah, they specifically mentioned the Armada's ride being a big improvement over the older models.
So smoother ride overall.
Seems like it. They credit that new suspension system, especially in the Platinum Reserve with those adaptive dampers.
They're fancy.
They really soak up the bumps, apparently.
That's what I like to hear. Is it comparable to, say, those luxury SUVs with magnetic ride control? That super smooth, almost magical feeling?
Well, some reviewers said it's not quite on that level.
Okay, so comfortable, but maybe not cloud-like.
Right. Still a definite step up in terms of comfort.
Good to know. Now, we got to talk tech. That's a huge deal these days. How do the Armada and Expeditions stack up there?
Well, they both offer those big touch screens.
Yeah, like mini TVs in the dash these days.
Exactly. Wireless Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, driver assistance features, the whole 9 yards.
And don't forget, the Armada has that exclusive klipsch sound system.
Right. Reviewers are loving that thing. Crystal clear sound, rich bass, really adds to that luxury vibe.
Makes you feel like you're in a concert hall, huh?
Pretty much. The Expedition counters with a Bang & Olufsen system, though.
Oh, right. Which is also a pretty high-end audio brand.
Yep, so audiophiles are in good hands either way.
Choices. Any other cool tech features that stood out to you? Besides the awesome sound systems, I mean.
Let me think. Oh, the Armada has something called biometric cooling. Basically, it uses sensors to monitor the temperature of the rear passengers and adjust the climate control accordingly.
Wait, what? So it can tell if the kids are too hot or too cold in the back?
Exactly. Keeps everyone comfortable, especially on long road trips.
That's pretty smart.
And the Expedition has its Blue Cruise system for hands-free highway driving.
Right. Which is becoming more and more common these days.
Yep. Pretty cool stuff. Though keep in mind, we don't have those real-world Expedition reviews yet, so we can't really judge how well these systems work in practice.
Good point. Gotta wait and see. Still, it's fun to see how car makers are pushing the boundaries with tech these days.
It really is.
All right, let's talk money. Budget's always a big factor for buyers, right?
Absolutely. Especially in this SUV category where things can get pretty expensive.
So how do these two stack up?
Well, the Armada starts at $58,530.
Okay, not bad.
Which actually undercuts the Expedition's expected starting price.
Oh, really? By how much?
They're estimating the Expedition will start around $62,000.
So right off the bat, the Armada is a bit more budget-friendly.
It looks that way, yeah.
But that's just the starting price, right?
Yeah.
What happens when you start adding options, going up in trim levels?
That's where things get tricky. We don't know the full pricing breakdown for the Expedition yet, so it's hard to say how much that difference will hold up.
Makes sense.
And of course, we can't forget fuel economy.
Oh, right. That's a big one, especially these days.
We'll have to wait for those official EPA numbers to compare them directly.
True.
But it's worth noting that both the Armada and the Expedition have switched to turbocharged V6 engines, which are generally more fuel efficient than those old V8s.
There's potential for savings at the pump.
Definitely. Worth considering, for sure.
Okay, so we spent a lot of time on Armada versus Expedition, but what about other heavy hitters in this full-size SUV arena?
Right, there's a whole crowd out there.
Like, how does the Armada compare to the Chevrolet Tahoe and Suburban? Or the Toyota Sequoia?
Those are definitely contenders you gotta consider.
Yeah, those are big names in the SUV world.
For sure. Let's start with the Tahoe and Suburban. They're both built on GM's latest platform, which is known for being pretty refined and tech-savvy.
So they've got that solid reputation for comfort and cutting-edge features.
Exactly. Plus, they offer a bunch of different engine choices, including a powerful V8 and a fuel-efficient diesel.
More options than the Armada.
And, of course, the Suburban has that extra long wheelbase for maximum space.
Right, if you need a whole limousine's worth of room.
Pretty much.
So what are some of the standout features those Tahoe and Suburban offer? What really makes them shine?
Well, they're known for that plush ride, especially those higher trims with GM's magnetic ride control suspension.
That's legendary, right?
It's considered one of the best in the industry. It basically reads the road and adjusts the suspension in real time for ultimate smoothness.
So it's pretty magical.
It is. So if ride comfort is your top priority, the Tahoe and Suburban might have a slight edge over the Armada.
Interesting. But where does the Armada hold its own? What are its strengths compared to those GM giants?
Well, its starting price is lower, for one.
That's always a good thing.
Especially considering how much standard equipment you get compared to those GM SUVs. Plus, you can't forget about that awesome clipped sound system.
That's true. That's a big plus for the Armada.
And something else the Tahoe and Suburban can't really match is the Armada's off-road capabilities, especially with that Pro 4X trim.
Right. If you want to get out there and explore, the Armada is ready for adventure.
Exactly. So it kind of comes down to what you prioritize, right? More refinement and a wider range of features with the GM SUVs, or better value and off-road chops with the Armada.
A classic trade-off.
Yep. It all depends on your needs and preferences. Now, how about that Toyota Sequoia? That's a relatively new player in this game, right?
Yeah, it came out last year, and it's been making waves. What makes it stand out from the crowd?
Well, like the Armada, the Sequoia ditched its V8 for a turbocharged V6. But Toyota went the hybrid route with their iForce Max powertrain.
Oh, so it's got electric boost.
Yep. Combines a twin-turbo 3.4-liter V6 with an electric motor for a total output of 437 horsepower and 583 pound-feet of torque.
Wow, those are some serious numbers.
No kidding.
But what's the catch with going hybrid? Is it more expensive? More complicated?
It can be, yeah. Potentially a higher price tag and a bit more complex under the hood. But for some buyers, the trade-offs might be worth it. That hybrid system delivers impressive performance, both in terms of power and potentially fuel economy compared to the Armada's non-hybrid V6. And of course, you've got Toyota's legendary reputation for reliability and strong resale value.
Those are definitely big selling points. So the Sequoia's got a lot going for it. Where does the Armada hold its own in this comparison?
Well, for starters, it has a lower starting price. And as we mentioned before, that Klitsch audio system is a real draw for some buyers.
Yeah, if you're a music lover, that's a hard feature to ignore.
And let's not forget the Armada's global platform heritage. It's based on that tough-as-nails Nissan Patrol that's proven itself all over the world.
Right, it's got that built-in ruggedness.
Exactly. Oh, and speaking of unique features, the Sequoia has a pretty cool slide-out cargo shelf.
What's that?
It basically extends from the cargo area like a built-in table, perfect for tailgating, camping, or just working on projects.
It sounds pretty handy.
It is. So, once again, it's a trade-off, right? The Sequoia's got that hybrid power, Toyota's rock-solid reputation, and some cool features like that cargo shelf. The Armada counters with affordability and that premium audio experience.
Tough choice.
Yeah.
But both sound like great options, ultimately.
They really are. Highly capable SUVs, tons of space, comfort, and tech.
This is a win-win no matter which way you go.
Pretty much. It all comes down to what matters most to you.
Well said. All right, we've explored how the Armada stacks up against its main rivals in this crowded SUV arena.
We've covered a lot of ground.
We have. So, what are your final thoughts on this new contender? Does the Armada have what it takes to really shake up the full-size SUV market?
I think it definitely has the potential. Nissan has made some serious improvements, and it's clear they're targeting buyers who want a mix of capability, comfort, and tech without having to spend a fortune.
Sounds like they're hitting that sweet spot.
I think so, yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how buyers react.
For sure. But it definitely shows that Nissan's innovating, pushing the boundaries a bit, and that's always a good thing.
Absolutely. Competition breeds excellence,
No,
right?
exactly.
Okay, so what does all this mean for you, our listeners? What should you take away from all this Armada talk?
Well, if you're even remotely thinking about getting a full-size SUV, the Armada deserves a serious look.
It's worth considering, for sure.
Do your research, compare it to the other options out there, and see if it fits your needs and your budget.
You might be surprised at what you find.
Don't just focus on those top-tier trims either. Even the base Armada is well-equipped and a great value.
Right, there's an Armada for everyone.
Exactly. The most important thing is to find the SUV that best suits your lifestyle and priorities.
Well said. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. From the Armada's design and features to its performance and how it compares to the competition.
It's been a deep dive, for sure.
But before we move on, were there any specific details or features that really stood out to you? Anything that surprised you?
Honestly, the thing that impressed me most was the interior. It's such a huge step up from the previous generation Armada. The materials, the design, the overall feeling of quality. It's really something special.
I'd agree. That Platinum Reserve trim in particular is so luxurious. Those quilted leather seats, the dual screens, it's like a mobile lounge.
It really is. Nissan's definitely stepping up their game in terms of interior design.
But I gotta say, that invisible hood camera system is just plain cool. Such a clever idea.
Yeah, that was a highlight for me too.
Makes off-roading a lot less intimidating knowing you can see what's coming.
Exactly. And for me, the biggest standout was that Klipsch audio system. It's hands down the best I've heard in a non-luxury SUV.
So if you're an audiophile, this is the SUV for you.
Without a doubt.
All right, so it sounds like Nissan's got a real winner on their hands with this new Armada.
They've done a great job, that's for sure.
But is it the new king of the full-size SUV hill? That's the question we'll tackle in our final segment. All right, the big question. Is the Armada the new king of the full-size SUV world?
Well, it's a tough competition.
It is. Lots of great choices out there.
Yeah, a lot of strong contenders, each with their own strengths,
It's a real battle royale for sure.
It is.
But the Armada seems to be coming in strong. Power, capability, space, technology, all right up there with the best.
And all that at a price that often beats the competition.
That's got to be tempting.
It is. But, value isn't the only thing buyers in this segment are looking for.
Right, what else matters?
They want that refinement, that luxurious experience.
That premium feel.
Exactly. And maybe even a bit of prestige, too.
That's where those established players like the Tahoe and Suburban really shine.
They do. They've got that legacy of comfort and capability.
But do you think the Armada's catching up? Closing that gap?
Oh, absolutely. This new Armada is way more refined, more sophisticated than the older ones.
Night and day.
Pretty much.
Flat.
Quieter, more comfortable, and that interior quality is just on another level.
I can definitely see that.
And you can't forget that unique combo it's got going on. Ruggedness and premium features all in one package.
A tough balance to strike.
It is. Not many SUVs can handle both off-road trails and valet parking with equal grace.
So it's versatile. Good for families, adventurers, anyone who wants it all.
Exactly. It can do it all.
Okay, so we agree the Armada is a serious contender, lots to offer.
Definitely.
But is it enough to actually dethrone the current champs? Can it claim that king title?
That's tough to say. I mean, ultimately it comes down to sales, right? How do people actually respond to it?
Makes sense.
But I do think the Armada has the potential to shake things up, change the game a bit.
It's definitely a vehicle to watch, that's for sure.
Definitely. Nissan's onto something here.
Okay, so bottom line. What should our listeners take away from all this Armada talk? Why should they care?
Simple. If you're even thinking about a full-size SUV, put the Armada on your list.
Test drive it, see what it's all about.
Exactly. Do your research, compare it to the others, see if it fits your needs, your budget.
Don't rule it out. You might be surprised.
And don't just limit yourself to the top trims either. Even the base model is well-equipped, great value.
Good point. There's an Armada for everyone.
That's the beauty of it. At the end of the day, the best SUV is whatever works for you.
Well said. All right, folks, that wraps up our deep dive into the 2025 Nissan Armada.
Hope you enjoyed it.
Hopefully you learned something. You're ready to tackle the world of full-size SUVs.
There's a lot out there to explore.
But before we go, gotta leave you with one final thought to ponder.
Always love a good brain teaser.
Okay, so we've seen this trend towards smaller SUVs lately.
Right. Fuel efficiency, city driving, all that.
Exactly. But now, gas prices are stabilizing a bit, and there's this renewed interest in off-roading adventure travel.
Interesting.
So the question is, could this lead to a shift back towards bigger, more capable SUVs like the Armada?
That's a great question.
Is the reign of smaller SUVs coming to an end? How would that affect the car market as a whole?
Lots to think about.
Something to ponder as you navigate the always-changing world of cars.
For sure.
All right, thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll be back soon to explore another corner of the automotive world. Until then, happy driving.